Hey, this is Rocket Brain Surgeon, and we're looking at the 5916. This is a Tier 6 Chinese light tank. It's characterized by excellent mobility, weak armor, even the turret is very weak, and one of the more anemic guns in the game. You'll be seeing Tier 8 through Tier 10 tanks, and your gun sadly has an average penetration of 85. So even though you have the excellent looking auto-loader, you'll have trouble penetrating even the rear of certain tanks. So the map is Prokorovka, and this is a great scout map to be on. The view range of the 5916 isn't that large. It's only about 370. I do have optics enabled. It does well enough, but I'm going forward and I'm trying to scout enemy movements. You got to use that excellent mobility to do what you can. Now I'm using the reverse slope because a couple of them are YOLOing forward, committing suicide more or less as I miss a couple shots. But you want to stay safe because on a scout map like this, what I do later in the game is going to be incredibly important to the team. Because on that west side where there's so much foliage, it will be up to me to spot them for my teammates. My teammates, by the way, are hanging around the cap zone. They're not exactly courageous in moving forward, so I can't really move forward without them. One of the things that a lot of scouts will do, just because it's easy, you saw the Hellcat do it, you saw the Cromwell do it, is just to fly forward really fast just because you can. You don't want to do that. You want to try and stay safe. Here what I'm doing is I'm peeking into the bush. I'm actually a little too far forward. You want to look into the bush and spot things. So you get cover from it. They won't be able to see you. And here you'll notice that I'm about 250 meters away. I don't want to shoot because that puts my camouflage rating around 0. So firing reveals your position. My position is kind of revealed right there anyway. Again, like I said, I was a little bit too far forward. But the intent was very good. Trying to spot that west side without taking fire in return. Notice that some of my team has moved up along the west side, so I decide to try and help them out. Here we spot a Panzer III-4, and he will die relatively quickly here. Once he's dealt with, and my team has moved up, that's the indication where I can move forward. Again, you want to head within your team. I ping the mini-map because I want to make sure it's a quick way of telling people where you're going. You don't have to berate them, you don't have to say cover me. Just ping the mini-map, people will automatically look in that direction. Now when you go forward, you need a plan of escape or you need some plan of safety. So I spot 2 tanks here, a KV-1 and a T-25-2, and this is my area of safety. When you're scouting and when you're playing World of Tanks in general, you need to form a mental map of where people are in relation to you and where they can shoot you. And I hadn't seen anyone on this side of the railroad tracks on the east side of the map, so I felt pretty safe being down here. I also didn't spot anyone straight across riding the K-line. Normally 1 or 2 tanks sit back there. And I was planning on diving further into this little valley as a way of retreat. What I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to spot the T-25-2 by creeping up behind a bush. Now what that does is when you keep the bush between yourself and the enemy, they can't see through the bush, but you will be able to put your front in the bush and spot them. So ideally, when I move into the bush here, the T-25-2 is going to light up, my team is going to shoot him, everybody wins. Hooray, great. However, the T-25-2 is in some foliage himself. That's what makes this map fairly tricky. You can be pretty close and still not spot the other guy. So I'm going to try to move into another bush, try to spot him. That really doesn't work. I pull back just a little bit just on the very tiny chance that I would have gotten spotted. So I'm going to hunt for Artie. We have a substantial advantage in tanks. It's 9-4. We spot the T-25-2. I'm not stopping because I really don't know where some of these other tanks are. And so by stopping, I would just kind of expose myself to fire. Here's one of the last tanks where I didn't know where he was, and so I feel very comfortable of just kind of sitting out in the open and killing him here. I immediately screw up at this point, and while still on radar, I move within the draw distance of the tanks on the hill, losing half my hit points for basically nothing. I should have waited outside of draw range until I went out of radar. So we found Artie, and I use the auto aim in brawl ranges frequently, so I can just drive around them and left click on tanks with little thought to aiming. He's not really paying attention to me though, so we finish him off just by peeking over the ridge. After he's dead, we're going to wait to go off of radar before we peek. One of the great strengths of the 5916 is its excellent camo rating. When I peek over the ridge, you'll notice the IS is roughly 250-300 meters away from me, and he does not spot me even though I'm moving. I get a little overconfident here, immediately get tracked, and promptly die. Overall, the 5916 has great mobility, wonderful camo, an anemic gun, and I think it's a very good Tier 6 scout. Happy hunting.